Okay guys, so what we're doing in this series, we're calling it the concept series. And what we want to do is give you more understanding of the concepts behind the program. Why? Because if you're more informed, that will help your training, it will help you better understand the why behind what you're doing. And we're actually going to start with deloads. Now, a deload in essence is a reduction in training volume and or intensity. And there's a number of reasons why we deload. There's something what we would term as a forced deload, and that forced deload is, when in essence you're just too tired to train, or you may have had an injury, you are forced to deload. We have what's called a scheduled deload, which we'll talk about in a minute in more detail. We also have a deload where we peak for competition, which is slightly different, and we also have a post-competition deload. Now, all these types of deload are different, but based on that same principle that there in essence is a reduction in training volume and or intensity. The forced deload we're not going to go into because that relates more to injury or not being able to train. The first we're going to look at is what we call the scheduled deload. And those guys who've been doing the program will notice that every 5th week we have a scheduled deload. Now, the reason that we have it every 5th week is we have found over the years this is the most optimal time, that athletes can handle 4 weeks of training at relatively high volume, relatively high intensity, but then as they start going into that 5th week, they might not be able to hit that same intensity. They might start to feel a bit tired, and therefore we put in this scheduled deload. Now, one of the main reasons that you'll need a deload is you may be feeling tired, you may not be hitting your same numbers, or in essence that your motivation for training has decreased. And that's what we tend to do is talk with our athletes, see how they're feeling, and that's when we would recommend that they would take the deload. Those signs are kind of classic signs that someone may be quote unquote overtrained, under-recovered. And what you'll see in the scheduled deload is that we actually offer options for athletes, meaning that one athlete may actually handle a slightly higher volume than another athlete, and in those scheduled deloads, the athletes who don't handle as much volume, we encourage to take full rest. The athletes who actually respond a bit better to a higher volume, you'll be able to take those optional sessions and move through them. So the scheduled deload is there in essence to allow us to not burn out. It gives us a set period where we can know we can rest, recover, and approach the next training block again and again going in. The peaking for a competition is a form of deload, but it's something specific that we're going to cover in this concept series. But one more thing we're going to address is the post-competition deload. And this is in essence just taking a break, be it mental, be it physical. And you hear Fraser's a great example of this after the games, who will take 2 to 3 months off completely. For our athletes after a big competition such as the games, we would recommend at least a month of minimal training. And what we would say is, go for walks, go for a run, do what you feel like in that month. But in essence, you don't have to step into a gym and kind of redline as you will have been doing for the rest of the year. So that is our deload, most specifically our scheduled deload. And any questions or feedback, post it in the group, let us know, and we'll get back to you.